Good evening, class. This is Charles Evelyn, and my video discussion is about the scaled vector graphics format, particularly in its use in web logos. So before we start there and get to the logos, there's a brief introduction about what SVG is all about. I have three references here. This one is from W3 Schools, and it's talking about the SVG, and it says about obviously what it stands for, scaled vector graphics, and a little bit about what it's used for. It talks about XML format. Talk about not losing the quality when the graphics are zoomed or resized, and you can see the rest here. It goes into the W3C recommendation and when it became a recommendation. It also goes into the advantages of SVG compared to JPEGs and GIFs. One of the other references I have also is from the site here, toddmodal.com. It's talking about using SVG for Retina web files, and fallbacks for PNGs. So he talks a little bit about it here. I'm going to include the references, so I'm not going to read everything off the page here. But one of the things that I do want to talk about is the SVG fallback. For those browsers who do not support SVG fully, which I believe most of them do, but there are problems with some of them, as I will show you momentarily. But this is his comment here about fallbacks for SVG. There's also another website here talking about ways to embed, embed SVG videos or SVG file formats into HTML documents. Of course, they also talk about, they keep going over what it is, scale vector graphics. This is also one of the references that I will be including in my text file. And one of the things I really wanted to highlight is his fallback code, which I believe should be down here. I believe I missed it. But there's one of the things he was talking about specifically was the use of Modernizer for a fallback option. And this is it right here. And this is the script he's using for Modernizer to replace the object as well. And then the third site that I was looking at was this guy David Bushell, or Bushell. He's pretty much prompting us to use SVG already in websites, and he talks a little bit about websites and gives a couple of examples. But once again, he talks about the fallback techniques that we can use, and he also mentions Modernizer and right here and adding the SVG class to the HTML element. And he talks a little bit more about responsive images and other possible solutions. And so, like I said, these three references will be added to the file upon completion. And so, with that said, let's go to Modernizer. Correction, let's go to Illustrator and show you what I have. So this is my document that I've created, the logo that I created for my radio station. And right now it's at about it's almost the size that we need, 460 by 680. But what I did is I created a very simple web page. It's sort of crude in its design, and it's just a basic web page here. And I also did some CSS for it and used a background image. And what I did for this image, I set it to 225 for pixels for height and width. And so what that looks like in a web page is this. Like I say, it's a very crude website. Please forgive that. But the image here is in SVG format. It's included as an SVG file in the image. I mean, with more testing and sizing before we preview it in the browser, this would actually be, the resolution here would be a lot better. But this is in Safari, and I wanted to show you a couple other formats here. This is the same image, the same file that's in Chrome. And one of the things with the fallback for Modernizer, apologize for that. As you can see, the image here is in Firefox, and if you look at the image here compared to the image here, you can see it's greatly distorted. And so what you would want to do is probably use one of the Modernizer fallbacks, as they talked about in one of the other references, to correct this image and make it look uniform across all browsers. So that's where the Modernizer piece would come in your fallback content. So the last thing we need to do is save this file for as an SVG. This is obviously in Illustrator. So with your image prepped and ready to go, you would probably have other file formats available: PNGs, JPEGs, or GIFs, depending on what the type of file that you're using. You would go to File, Save As, and in the Format options drop down, you could pick, of course, as an Illustrator or other type of image here. You would use SVG and then click Save. This has already been saved, so I won't be doing that here. But that's all you do. And then your file is saved as an SVG, and then you can use it in your formats for any web projects that you may have. As you notice here, it's a .svg. So that's my video. I hope it was somewhat informative, and thanks very much.